Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video. This is another US sort of reaction, and this is from the channel Lost in the Pond. I've had a lot of suggestions for a long time now to react to his channel, and I think from what people say, he's a British guy living in the US, and he just sort of does a lot of sort of cultural type videos, or just basic sort of comparison type videos between the two countries that I think I'll enjoy because of what people have suggested and said about his channel. But I mean, yeah, I don't really know what to expect. This is quite an old video, but I just sort of went on his channel and saw the most viewed one and thought, actually, this does look like it could be quite an interesting one, because the way I say certain words, I know, is so wildly different to how people in the US say it. But I don't know, we'll just see this video. But it's 11 words Americans love asking Brits to say. We're going to check this out. I'm probably going to sort of say the words myself for how I would say it and see if it's like how he says it as well. And yeah, let's just check this one out. Quick shout out to my Instagram, my Twitter, links in the description for that. Same for my my Patreon, links are all there. I've got a lot of Patreon only videos out. For those who want to see that, links are all there. But let's check this one out. It's loud as hell.
Well, to be fair, that is what you get for interbreeding a dog with a cat. So, oh, hello, this is Lawrence Brown with Lost in the Pond. Today, on this video, I'm going to be discussing some of those words that Americans so often get us Brits to say quite a lot. Now, just to be clear, before I go ahead, this is not a video about exclusively British words, but rather words that both Brits and Americans use, but that Americans somehow derive a great deal of humour from when they hear people like me, with my accent, saying them. Basically, and any Brit that is watching this that has interacted with an American at any point in time,
I'm assuming it's going to be words like, because in the thumbnail it was tomato, and obviously tomato, that's obviously how it looks, but I go tomato. Things like water, I don't say water. I just feel weird. I've never said it like that, and I feel like it's going to be words like that. Can I have some water, please?
Will know this to be true. Americans very, very often like to say something along the lines of, I wish I could just stick you in the corner and listen to you speak, which is not at all offensive. Now, the first word up here is squirrel, weirdly enough, and this suggestion comes from Stacy in Salt Spring, Iowa.
Squirrel. Is in the US, is it squirrel? Because I say squirrel. I mean, it kind of
Island, Canada. The word squirrel, I thought nothing of this pronunciation. Squirrel. I just assumed everybody said it pretty much like I do now. Squirrel, squirrel. And then I realised how Americans say it, and it's more like squirrel, which kind of sounds like you're pronouncing the word squirrel with a bunch of nuts in your mouth, which is what squirrels do, although they don't talk, so that wouldn't make any sense. So, number two is mobile, which comes up a lot in conversations about the differences between British and American English. Mainly because, of course, Americans use cell phones, British people use mobile phones. But that's not where the differences end. In fact, the main difference here in this particular word is the pronunciation of it. And I think that's why Americans are so ready to hear me say it. Because I say mobile, as I said, but Americans, they like to say mobile when referring to things
I do
that
actually
move,
sort of,
or
I
to
feel like
the
in
phone
shows I've seen
itself.
this a lot.
Unless you're down in Alabama where there's a city spelt exactly the same way, pronounced mobile, and that is why this word makes my brain melt through my nose.
That's kind of weird if that's true.
The time.
Just
True story. A few days ago, I put out a video of me in the bath, and one of the comments after that was, how do you, Lawrence, pronounce the word bath? Even though they'd just seen the video in which I pronounced the word bath multiple times. As you can see, I say it as bath, not too dissimilar, in fact, to how most Americans would say it. I think they're expecting me to extend the A like a lot of people in the South do, but I'm from the North, and we do things differently in the North.
Southern High, stand up for it.
You need to learn that, perhaps, if you care to. And so, watching the look of disappointment on the face of the odd American, sometimes very odd American, as they ask me to pronounce this, is heartbreaking in many ways. I don't say
Why
bath,
can't you say how I would
say
it?
bath. But I imagine to all the sort of southern British people that get that question, it probably brings an ounce of glee to the American that hears it. So keep doing it. Keep doing it. Speaking of bath, you can't really have a bath without water, unless you're my cats. They do that all the time. And as you heard just there, I pronounce it, of course, water, just like most.
I'm gonna fill my bath. I'm gonna fill my bath up with some water. Is that what you want? Is that what you sickos are wanting me to say? Is that what you
British
sickos
people.
are wanting me to say?
As I pointed out in my last video, the word water and my pronunciation of it can cause a lot of confusion, actually, particularly for waiters that are serving me, when they'll ask me, you know, what do you want for drink? And I'll say, water. What? Water. What? Water. What?
How do you say it in the US? Water?
Water.
Oh.
Would you like lemon or lime with that, sir?
Oh. So here she says water, but I say water. That is kind of weird then. So there's different ways to say it in the UK then.
Yes.
Wait, what?
But
My
it's the
head's
more
spun.
discerning Americans among you that stop me in the street if you recognise me. Still, nobody does. And you get me to say that very word until I literally cry all of the water out of my body. Thankfully, I don't drive, so I don't have to deal with this word all that often, and I don't own my own house, so I don't have an attached garage, as I would say. But you know what? Between you and me, this is actually one of those words that I think actually sounds a little less elegant when the British say it. Garage. I'm going to park the car in the garage. Americans do what Southerners in England do with the word bath. Bath. They extend the A. Garage. It's a mouthful, though, the way they say, isn't it? Because it's like, I'm going to park the car in the garage. Then I'm going to lift up the boot and the bonnet, and I'm going to check the windscreen to make sure that the indicator is working correctly. None of that made sense, but I just wanted to sort of convey what it would sound like if an American started talking about car stuff in British terminology. Ah, the classic tomato, tomato. You say tomato, I say tomato. Well, it's true.
Yeah,
actually, yes. I do say tomato. Funny story, I was in Subway once, and I was ordering a sandwich, which is generally what you do in Subway. I think that the sandwich maker had worked out that I was English very early on in the sandwich making process. Probably actually before I even got to the cheese. But we got further down the line, and apparently the cogs were turning in her head. She knew. She was waiting. She was waiting for the moment that I got to tomato to hear me say it that way. But here's a bit of a twist. I'd been burned so many times on that word here with Americans that I'd actually reverted to saying tomato. Kind of like how with water I had to, you know, I did that with tomato as well. So when it came time to tell her to put the tomato on my sandwich, I disappointed the crap out of her by saying tomato.
Soul destroying.
She tried to charge me extra. Of course, there's so much more to that.
Potato. How else is it? Wait, isn't it tomato, tomato, potato, potato? No way, potato is. No, that's not. That's not. Is that a saying? Is that
Wrong, tomato, tomato. There's the second part where it says, you say potato, I say potato.
No one says potato. I'm sorry, no one says potato. No one says potato.
I don't say potato. Who the hell says potato?
Oh, so they think we say potato. Who the fuck says potato?
I don't...
I just don't pronounce my T's. Again, water, potato, tomato. I just don't pronounce my T's.
Anybody in the world says potato, except maybe a kid trying to learn how to say it. Even they wouldn't. That's too complex. That's stupid. Whoever wrote that song needs to really think about their linguistic choices in life. Vitamin is great, because this is another one where there's like a couple of differences in there.
Bro, I don't pronounce my T's. I've just realised I don't pronounce my T's. I need to sort that out. I think even in the UK, I'm just going to be laughed at for not pronouncing. I remember when I was younger, my grandma used to always like sort of laugh at how I'd say like water and certain things, but I didn't realise how it was in literally every word. Of course,
there is the fact that I pronounce the T and most of you guys don't. You guys meaning Americans. I don't mean to generalise you, but I do. But the biggest difference here, of course, is how we pronounce the first I in the word. So as you heard right there, I would say which sounds like an embarrassing sex noise. Whereas Americans would say I. They're obsessed with I, it sounds like. I. And sticking with food-related stuff is the word herb. And as you heard just there, I pronounced it with an H at the beginning, because there's an H there. That's probably something you should do. Although, to be fair, this is something that a lot of Americans may not know about us Brits. We often pronounce the word H as H. We put an H on the word H, which there isn't one, actually, weirdly enough. This is getting all confusing. But it's herb. Herb. Although we don't pronounce the R in herb as Brits either, unless you're from the West Country. You might then. And you might drop the H. It was a nice herb that I put on my, I don't know, toast. We put herbs on toast. Oh my.
This guy, man.
Next up, right on schedule, is the word schedule. Now, I am often goaded into saying this word for Americans. It's
Schedule.
quite embarrassing because not only do they giggle, but they tell me that I'm incorrect. And then I can't really rebut them on that. Because if you look at the word historically, it actually originates from Greek. And typically speaking, a lot of Greek loanwords that begin with SCH, like the word school, are pronounced sk. Schedule in this case, whereas it's words like schmaltz that came from German that get that kind of sh sound. So really, I think Americans, I'll give you this one, you win, but don't get used to it. Remember, you may have won the War of Independence, but we re-invaded you with the Beatles and Harry Potter and David Beckham and everything cool from England. Me, right?
I feel like I actually said it more like the US. Schedule. To be honest.
And finally, this word probably sums up this little fella who I love so much.
Brilliant.
Is the word brilliant. I don't know why it is, but Americans really like to hear me say brilliant. When I was working as a supervisor once here in America for a company, I was presiding over hundreds of workers, and I often said that phrase if they, did a good job. I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. And they would giggle, and then they would come back to me the next day and ask me to say it again and again until we got no work done. It was the most unproductive time of my life. Where you going, Cat? Oh, okay. Brilliant. But Americans don't really sort of say it any differently, really. I mean, I suppose sometimes they might not pronounce the T at the end. I think they just like the context in which I say it. I have heard Americans start to say it in that context, that something is amazingly good, that it's brilliant. But more often than not, I think Americans use it to mean that someone is brilliant, as in they're quite smart, a brilliance about them intellectually. But what I would advise right now, if you're watching this video, even if you just think my cat is cute and nothing else is really grabbing you, share this video right now with the words, "This is brilliant. This is brilliant." Just so that I can get a lot of views on this one.
To be fair,
that's it for today's episode of Lost in the Pond. Remember, you can subscribe to me here on YouTube. Please start looking at those photos. Not leave it.
Again, shout out to this guy, man. Check this video in the description if you are interested, because this was actually really interesting. Definitely down to look at more of this guy's channel, because I really enjoyed this. It's sort of like his humour actually got me. It reminds me kind of like, is it Ricky Gervais? Maybe not. Just sort of like awkward humour. I really liked it. This video actually. You think you got it bad? I came here with a Cockney accent. Oh God, that's a disaster waiting to happen. And asked for a bottle of water, which with a Cockney accent sounds like bottle of water. The woman looked at me completely stunned and said, "Blah blah blah blah." I feel that, bro. I feel that. I can't believe you missed. Aluminum. That one is the big one, isn't it? For sure, that is the big one. I'd like to point out that American accent is spot on. Edit, source, and American. I'm an American and got the chance to visit Australia. I was asked to say that again in American. For once, I was the one with the unique accent. Here in Poland, everyone is learning British English, but I speak American English. I love it. I'm my teacher. My girlfriend's actually from Romania, and I feel like, well, she said that in like a lot of these countries, they sort of learn American English. So I feel like in a lot of European countries, American English is what they learn. So it's kind of interesting that in Poland that they learn British English. Because I feel like American English is the one that a lot of people learn. Even in Europe, your American accent was weird. It was spot on, but I wasn't expecting it to come out your mouth. Young American woman to me, "Hi, my name's Tara." Pardon? Tara. Brain freezes over what seems like a whole hours until, oh, Tara. The pronunciation, his American accent is really good actually. Yeah, she was good to be fair from what I saw on this. Normal squirrel, American squirrel. I love just the spelling of it, squirrel. But yeah, shout out to the people who suggested this for me. I actually, again, I said already loads, but I really did enjoy this reaction. If you want more of this stuff, let me know in future what you want to see from this channel, or just any of these sort of US reactions, because I do really enjoy them, like the pronunciation ones, and yeah, just other things like that. But hopefully you did enjoy this one, and until next time, like, subscribe, peace.